And we are live. Welcome everyone to the Legend in the Mist Livestream AMA/actual play demonstration. I'm Kevin Carpenter, and joining me today is the founder of Son of Oak. Amit, introduce yourself.
Hi, I think you just did. I'm the founder of Son of Oak and the creator of City of Mist role-playing game and the various offshoots, including our game today, Legend in the Mist. Super excited to be here with everyone.
Sure. And we have two other people joining us today. Could both of you introduce yourselves?
Sure. Should I start? Yeah. I'm Daniel Pinal. I am the lead artist at Son of Oak, and I'm really excited to be here.
And I'm Kai. I'm a friend of the channel slash the studio, and I love City of Mist, so that's why I'm here, and I'm ready to have fun.
All right,
Awesome.
so
Yeah.
what are we doing today?
Yeah, we have a lot prepared for you. First of all, thank you all the backers for this incredible kickoff for the Kickstarter. We couldn't be more thrilled. We couldn't be more thankful at Son of Oak Game Studio. Everybody in the team is just like radiant with the excitement, and we really appreciate and love that you guys chose to support this game and brought us to this incredible place where we could really make the best game possible out of this. We're really excited for this Kickstarter, but this also the process afterwards, where we're going to hone and perfect and create a really beautiful game for you guys. We're ready to do it. We're ready to roll. And today we're going to do a couple of things. First of all, we're going to start with a little bit of an introduction for the setting. This Kickstarter actually has two books and a lot of accessories that we're kickstarting. We're going to do the core book, Legend in the Mist role-playing game, which is something that you can use, a game that you could use to play any setting. But we're also going to kickstart Hearts of Ravensdale, which is the rustic fantasy setting that we've been talking about for so long. So we're going to talk a little bit about that for about maybe 10 minutes. If you have questions about that, please feel free to raise those in the chat. Kevin's going to pick out the setting questions, and then we're going to save the general questions for later. Then we're going to do a quick playthrough. You guys asked a lot for us to show how the game is played, and we're so happy to do it. We're going to pick out a scene from the demo game that we published together with the Kickstarter. If you don't have the demo game, I strongly suggest heading over to the Kickstarter page and finding that, downloading that, and having that handy so you can watch along with us as we play through that scene. So that's going to be about around an hour. We'll be pretty flexible around it. And then we're going to take questions and just kind of hang out and talk about our experience and how much we enjoyed this game. So hopefully. So this is what we have planned for today. I mean, while we're kind of taking questions, maybe I can show a little bit about the setting, and we'll dip into that, and we'll take it from there. We were very, very lucky to work with Daniel on the art side of things. Thank you, Daniel, for actually the most amazing visualization of the setting. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share the screen a little bit and show a couple of things. Let's see what you guys can see now. Just want to make sure that everything is in the frame. It's going to take a minute for us to see what you're seeing. So we're going to hold with that.
Currently,
but
the
generally,
share screen is live on the stream.
Great. Yeah, I can see it. Very good. Okay, cool. So Legend in the Mist is, like we said, a kind of a rustic fantasy RPG, and its setting, Hearts of Ravendale, is really going to embody that. The game itself has a lot of tools for playing a rustic fantasy RPG, where you start as a kind of a villager or someone from a remote community where you travel a lot, where you encounter things in the wild and in rural settings. But the Hearts of Ravendale's setting is going to really bring all that to life. And this setting is revolves around a place called the Dales, or at least it starts in a place called the Dales. And I'm just going to pull up a map here of this thing. And this is the map that we released yesterday for the Dales. And what you can see here is we're talking about a kind of a remote, almost Shire-like community that is built out of many little dales, each one of them with their own different character. And life in the Dale are quite simple. In the Dales, there are obviously differences between each one of these places, but you start out as a villager living their lives and kind of unaware of what is happening in the world at large. Maybe you never left your Dale. Maybe you've been around several Dales. Maybe you even venture out a little bit. Maybe you're a hunter that's living in Woodend and kind of going out into the Aldenwood. Maybe you are a cook from Barleytown that's kind of creating great dishes for the so-called nobles of that place. And we have people from, we can have characters from different parts of this region. But what's really interesting is the whole setup where something is happening outside of the Dales. So the setting has a kind of mysterious tone to it. And as you kind of live your life, the beginning of the setting is you're living your life, but then something happens that calls you out to go on a journey, or rather calls you to go out on a journey and explore the lands beyond the Dales. So the Dales themselves have a lot of adventures that can happen. Actually, the history of the world before kind of slumber set in and before everyone kind of started being more insular and focusing on the Dales, the history is still present within the Dales. So we have certain locations and certain factions and certain that I just don't want to reveal right now, but that are basically remnants of an older world and a wider cosmology. And also, as you kind of start stepping outside of the Dales, so if you go to the Witchwood, if you go to Stormhelm, if you go to the Northern Wastes, the Crag and Highlands, the Aldenwood or the Marshes, and beyond in the east, beyond the Shiverwash River, if you go towards the Wanderlands, you will start revealing a greater world. So initially, you start in the center, you explore the Dales, and then imagine a second circle around of regions that are revealing more and more and more about the world. In terms of races, the Dales is, I want to say, predominantly human. We've kind of taken an approach to this. If we're thinking about the feeling of a fireside tale and the feeling of a setting that is kind of a little bit more mysterious, as you maybe read in articles and have you read on our Kickstarter page and our announcement, we're trying to move away from that goblin fatigue, stat block fatigue, where I know all the creatures, I know who they are, I know their abilities, I encounter something in the story and it has absolutely no feeling effect. So what we're kind of trying to move away from that by having the players discover the world along with the characters. So for example, the supernatural creatures of the world, humans just call creatures of twilight. They're like this big group in the eyes of the humans. They don't know who they are. They don't understand the differences between them. They don't differentiate between something that maybe, is maybe intelligent to something that's a monster. It's just everything they're afraid of in the Dales, basically. And so your characters very often start without really knowing a lot about what is happening outside of the Dales or what even exists outside of the Dales. Magic is the same story. Most people in the Dales have absolutely no magic. It's a life of farming. It's a life of, very simple life. But magic is very much in the bones of this setting. It just has to be discovered. And it kind of rolls out into the game pretty early on. And it has also different levels. There is a form of hedge magic that people who are very good in their craft can suddenly develop abilities or can reach effects that are, or create, for example, objects that are very, very special, almost to the point of being uncannily so. So that's kind of a little form of hedge magic. But of course, in the olden days, there was thaumaturgy, the great thaumaturges. This was their kingdom at some point. And of course, they left a lot of things behind. And so this is kind of like the baseline for characters who are starting from the bottom. But we also know that Legend in the Mist supports mixed power levels in the party. So you will be able to play in a party that maybe starts with 3 hobbits or 4 hobbits and Gandalf, or maybe 3 characters who are from the Dales and are at origin level with another character that is a thaumaturge, full-blown thaumaturge that has been around the world, that has seen things. And this is thanks to the narrative power of the system. So
legal
I think
disclaimer in
I've
case
said enough.
the Tolkien estate is listening on the live stream. We will not have hobbits in the Legend of the Mist.
No, we won't. But I think they're okay. I think they're aware of their influence of the of fantasy in general. But yeah, we will not have those. So what I'd like to do is, if we have questions, that would be great. But also maybe Daniel, you can talk a little bit about how you've so beautifully visual. I mean, this every time I look, I'm even looking at the background of our of our stream right now, and I'm blown away by it. So talk about the process that we've been through.
Well, it's been a long process since we first started conceptualizing what the game should look like, because we definitely wanted to step a little bit away from what we usually have come to expect visually, also from fantasy settings and stuff like that. And so I definitely started just exploring a lot. I think we spent about, I want to say, close to 8 months, 6 to 8 months, just exploring different styles that we wanted to work with, different ideas, different inspirations for the people of the Dales. And eventually we started like really feeling some of the designs that I was making, and basically from the characters, from the characters that we started conceptualizing in the beginning, we started just building how the rest of the world should look like. And I definitely wanted a place where the characters were kind of front and center, and also where they felt a little bit like they belonged in the world, and they weren't like super clean, super stylish. Like, yeah, sure, they are stylish. There are stylish people in the world, but they aren't. I think they aren't fashion models in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a long process, but I'm happy to see people are connecting with what we created.
I think they certainly have, and maybe we'll have some comments about that. I'm going to drop off the screen share at this point, maybe. So Kevin, let me know when we've switched.
And we're switched.
Cool. So yes, Kevin, let us know if there are any questions in the background about the setting. One other thing that, as I was saying, people were asking a lot about races and how you can play races. So
That's actually one question that just got brought up in the chat.
Okay, cool. So one of the things that, like I said, Creatures of Twilights include a lot of different things inside them, and you will be able to actually start the game as playing one of those things. There are, if you kind of, I don't want to spoil it for players maybe, but if you kind of dig into the Tinderbox demo, we already have some hints of what these categories of creatures of Twilights might be. But you can definitely play someone that has been affected by thaumaturgy, or someone that is actually a different type of being altogether from humans. And when we do that, we really want to go, in that direction. It's not just a human being with pointy ears, and it's not, a metaphor. It's actually a different being. It's a different creature that has a completely different physical and spiritual composition. And they may look like people, but they're quite different. And the cosmology is connected to them. And you can dig into that and into the Tinderbox demo and see a little bit like that.
It's interesting that we're talking about Creatures of Twilight. Sorry to interrupt, Amit, but another question that's actually in the chat is, will Legend in the Mist have a sort of like monster manual for all these Creatures of Twilight?
Yes, so we will definitely include a monster or a bestiary or an adversary section, both in the core book. That's going to be a little bit more fantasy generic. And in the setting book, we will have a section that will include challenges, and we'll see some of those today for all of these creatures. Of course, if we continue to create expansion books, we'll expand on that too. But yes, there will definitely be a lot of monsters to work with.
So Vash GR asks, you mentioned that there will be a sort of traveling exploration mechanic. This is often delegated to background in some TTRPGs. How challenging will travel be?
So the beauty of the system, and specifically travel in the system, is that travel is a monster. So whenever you're trying to cross a swamp, or you're trying to scale a mountain, or you're trying just to travel across open land, but it's a very long and arduous journey, you will actually be dealing with the same mechanics that you will when you're fighting a monster, just on a much, much larger scale of time. So you will be getting, you'll take actions to progress along the journey. You will take consequences from not progressing so well along the journey, or progressing and still taking consequences like exhaustion, like, I don't know, heat stroke, cold, bugs biting you, emotional things. You could get despaired, or you can get actually invigorated. It's going to use the exact same mechanics. So we take the travel section very seriously on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's your choice when to make things in the system narrative and when to make them tactical and crunchy and mechanical. So you'll be able to take those challenges and go very deep into travel if you want to.
Do we want to answer some more questions, or do we want to go into the demo? How are you feeling, Amit?
I think if we have a couple more setting questions, let's do that, and then get back to questions after that.
Okay. Let's see. In terms of setting questions, here's one from Dennis Canal. Yes, that's no. Dennis Canal. Will we be given guidance on creating our own bestiaries for the upcoming release, especially in terms of the Creatures of Twilight? Like, will there be guidance on creating monsters to add into the setting?
So it will be on a couple levels. In the core book, you'll have guidance on creating your own challenges, and that includes monsters, it includes social interactions, it includes NPCs, of course, it includes dangerous places like we'll see today in travel. Anything that could challenge basically your party. That's going to be in the core book. In the setting book, we're going to probably start, I don't know about the structure yet, but probably start with a very deep reveal of the cosmology, because it's necessary for the MC to know what these things are in essence, even if they're not going to roll it out until the middle or almost the end of the campaign. So we're just going to have a very big reveal of the cosmology and what are creatures in this setting. And it'll be up to you to keep it a secret until the end of the campaign or the middle of the campaign, but and create that mystery. So that will also include information about how to create each one of the different categories of creatures of Twilight.
So another question with like the setting itself, characters can be thaumaturges, they can be apple pickers, they can be town guard. Hollis McRae asks, can you play a cat? Like, would someone be able to play a cat or a dog or just like an animal?
You can play a cat or a dog, and you can play a dragon if you want, a full-blown dragon, because the narrative system supports all of that. Naturally, the cat is probably going to be more towards the origin themes, and the dragon is going to be probably more towards the greatness themes, but you can really play any of these things.
How about
Unless
the
you love
cat-sized
baby
dragons?
dragon.
Yeah, exactly.
Assumptions.
Love it. So both Jacob Collins and Jorge Pongator, both of them are asking about the outside world around the Dales. Specific, like for the setting book, there will be information on the Dales. Will there also be information on the world outside the Dales in the sort of outer rings?
Yes, so there will be information on all of the surrounding sections. We'll see how deep that's going to go. You're definitely going to be able to roll things out into those sections. But you know, it's possible that we'll add some more information with stretch goals. We still don't know. We're actually about to max kind of our stretch goals that we have so far. So we have to go back to the drawing board and see what we're going to do. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some information there. In the future, we might expand on it further in a book, for example, that would be just about the Wanderlands, for example. But there will definitely be enough for you to work with.
Okay. Let's see. There is Dennis Canal does ask, is Thaumaturge a Ravendale setting specific expression, or will that be a system specific expression?
Definitely a Ravendale setting expression. You will be able to call your wizards and your mages and your thaumaturges and your sorcerers and your warlocks, whatever you want when you use the core game.
Okay.
I actually have a question about just like the inspirations, because I know that in the beginning we talked about inspirations, and a lot of us fell in love with City of Mist first, and noir has a very specific like there's only so much noir stuff, but there's a lot of fantasy stuff. So I would really want to know like what fantasy stuff inspired the beginning of this game.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've mentioned Lord of the Rings. Another big influence for me personally was Princess Mononoke, the anime movie, and you know that scene in the very beginning where Ashitaka has to leave his mountain home and something happens in the world outside. It's kind of the hero's journey that kind of pulls him out. You know, out of his little life into a bigger life. And there's constantly that sense of discovery. So this is not going to be investigation. It's not about noir or City of Mist or anything like that. It's about that sense of discovery that I think is really inherent to the fantasy genre. And you want to wander at what's happening. It's like, what is this thing? How marvelous is this? How terrifying is this? And have that experience of a bigger world. It's like, oh, I come from this little, not all characters, of course, but so yeah, this is this setting. Of course, with the core game, you can play whatever you want. You can have a high fantasy, high magic setting. That's fine. But to me, it was a return to the little, you know, that tale, that fireside tale, that fantasy as a story, not fantasy as a video game, you know, setting. So that was what for me. Maybe Daniel can talk about the visual inspirations.
Well, I have very similar inspirations to Amit in that regard. I think we definitely talked about what we were trying to make and just made sure that we were both in the same kind of ballpark in regards to what stories inspired us. I think one that maybe is hard to explain how it affected my art, but it definitely did, is the Earthsea Tales by Ursula K. Le Guin. Um, I I think they can be a little bit more higher magic than we originally intended for this setting, but in my head, the magic specifically in those books is always very narrative and very mysterious. It's never, especially like the magic that the main character uses, is very like there's always a narrative point to it, and I really wanted that feeling of like magic is not a science. It's not like a thing you can math your way through. You need to connect to it on a deeper, more personal level. And that inspired a lot of how I viewed the way magic worked in the art visually and the way the characters interacted with the world itself.
Amazing. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, we worked for so long on this that you really breathed life into the project with this art. So I think we can dive in. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
We're ready.
Cool. So a lot of people have asked us, I'm going to share my screen again. A lot of people have asked us to show a little session. We're going to play one scene. And that scene is going to be the third scene, actually. I wanted to jazz it up because we do have a video that shows the first scene that is kind of a comedy scene from the demo, Tinderbox demo. In this case, we're going to...
Amit, can you switch over to the Miro board? You're
Yeah,
currently
I think I
sharing
shared
the
the
video
wrong
going live right
screen.
now.
That happens. More or less. Why not? Why not? Yeah, so is this working this time?
Yep.
Awesome. So we're going to dive into the Tinderbox demo third scene. And in the previous scene, you're going to see me moving a lot of things here and there. But I'm going to bring here the this guy who in the previous scene, we know him from the your video, your amazing in action video, Kevin. And in the previous scene, the characters encountered a kind of a shambling bog corpse. If people don't know what a bog corpse is, I highly recommend looking for it. This is Daniel's education of me. Like you kind of came up with the idea of making this. So we didn't want yet another zombie. Again, we want to create a kind of a sense of a little bit more a sense of mystery in the details. And Daniel, how did you come up with this bog corpse thing, by the way?
It was when I was a lot younger. I was really into archaeology. I still am, but you know, I have less time now. So one of the things that always fascinated me were the ways in which some organic materials are preserved, and specifically, there are some cases in which some really, really old corpses are maintained even with like hair and clothes and stuff like that, which are extremely rare to preserve for like sometimes around 1,000 years. So the bog corpses always were like these mystifying, kind of alluring things for me visually, as like a snapshot of the past that is still really uncanny because of the way like the sediments and the water kind of work on the body to preserve it and change the appearance of it, and it makes it look kind of like wooden and almost like a stone or a sculpture. It's really weird, and I thought if this thing moved, I would freak out. So let's make it move.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see it.
One other thing I love about your art, Daniel, especially with like character art and monster art, is like the background is like never usually like just a bright day or like a dark night. It like a lot of like the weather in your art looks like the sun is rising, but also there's a storm. And it really adds to like the mood of this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. It definitely a conscious choice, especially when we were starting. We wanted to do um, this juxtaposition of like, yes, it's bright. It's kind of idyllic. Your existence in the Dales is this really fun, peaceful place, but there are bigger things outside of it, and it has to show somewhere.
Love it.
Absolutely. This is one of my favorites. And all,
Yeah,
all the
too.
more because it kind of opens the whole story. It's like you live in a little valley and then you see this. And it really that kind of crooked neck and everything, it really captures it. So going into the scene, your characters have found this thing shambling, moving around kind of aimlessly at the in the Ravenholm, your village Ravenholm Fields, and let's just say that you've taken care of it. You know, maybe you've found a way to banish it. Maybe you found a way to hack it down. But ever, you don't know if there are more. You do know that it was wearing this very strange, very fancy, rusty armor. It's not really usable, but it's something you've never seen before. And as you explored it and looked into it, you discovered that there was some kind of a miasma about it that originated from a poison, from a dark, oozy, oily fluid that was inside of its body. And that this creature has obviously come from a wet place. And one of you realized or surmised that this was the nearest wet place to the village is an old pond that is actually in a ruin, a sunken ruin. And we're going to look at that now after we move this away. So let's take a look a little bit at your characters. So Danielle, you're playing Tim, who is the Red Marshal.
That's right.
We can see your character here. We have art variations for all the characters, and I guess we didn't end up choosing things for backpack, so we won't use that right now.
Okay.
But we have Protector of the Dead. These are your themes. Every character in this game is made out of 4 themes. All of these characters that we'll be showing now are focusing on origin themes, which are the kind of like the characters that start out from, from the Dales. And your character, particularly Daniel, has Protector of the Dale, martial training, athletic, and aspiring local hero, with additional tags, 2 tags in each one of those themes, and 1 negative weakness tag. The tags in the middle are for character growth. We're going to ignore them. We're just going to look at the top 3 and then this one at the bottom in red. You guys can all get it from the demo if you want to look at it a little more in depth. But these are the themes that we have here. So you're a brash young individual that's a part of the scout force of the Dales. You're eager for adventure. You want to prove yourself. And you are a little bit rash.
Actually, Amit,
Kevin,
real quick, a question that just came up
yes.
from Milwana. What are people from the Dales called? Like, are they Dalesians, Dalites?
They're called Dales people.
Dales people.
So whenever you're going to ever type it, it's going to try to autocorrect you to salespeople, but that's not what we're doing. So yeah, these are all Dales people in this sense, in this setting, in this demo as well. But of course, you can play people from outside the Dales as well. This is the Wise One, which is going to remain the Wise One. Kevin, you're playing this guy. And your themes are Apothecary, old ways practitioner, as your character is versed in practices from before the Dale kind of forgot about the outside world. So you have some knowledge about creatures of twilights, things like that. You're an outland recluse. You live in the bush, and you've seen a thing or two.
Mhm.
These
And
are
just to
your
and just to reiterate for the chat, it's the title of the theme and the two mark tags underneath that are the tags that I have for each theme, and then the bottom one in red. So for this one right here, it's Outland Recluse, Twilight Encounters, and Tough Cookie are the tags that I can use for this theme. Hideaway, Self-Sufficient, and Woodland Companions are level up options if I were to play a campaign with this pre-gen. And then Grumpy at the bottom is my weakness tag.
exactly. And we're not going to use the backpack tags at the minute, so that's something that we can maybe go over
We left our
later.
packs at home.
Left our packs at home. Okay. We also have the apple picker. Kyle will be playing the apple picker. You've named him Ash. And the apple picker is an orphan from Ravenholm, your village, that kind of has dinner in a different place every day, a different family. The Ravenholm people take care of them, but they're also causing a lot of trouble. Let's be honest, especially with these themes: rascal, prankster, finders keepers, Ravenholm raised, run of the place, seeking kinship, and then Scrappy and a bushel of apples themes as well. So they always somehow have apples in their pockets, in a bag, in a bushel. So that's kind of something that the character can always use. Okay, and I think we are ready to get into the actual scene. We're going to use the obviously the Legend in the Mist rules, but we're going to focus on a couple of things. First and foremost, we're going to focus on the rhythm of the conversation, and we're going to divide every turn into 3 steps: establish, action, and consequences. During establish, I'm going to do what is usually done in role-playing games. I'm going to describe the scene, but I'm also going to be making threats, and threats are a mechanically important thing because if you ignore one of my threats, I get free consequences in the 3rd step. Action is when you will be, I'll ask you, one of you, to describe what your character is doing, and then we might go in a little bit into narration, role, and effect. And at the end of the turn, I'm going to deliver consequences if you ignored a threat or if your role generated consequences. And that's about it. So let us get into it. We are a rather rainy day.
By the way, Amit, is this map also a lone mapper creation?
Yes, this is a lone mapper creation. It's a little bit adapted to our needs with that pool in the middle, but it's a beautiful. The lone mapper is a great artist. I've wanted to work with him for a long time, and they've allowed access to their maps for this campaign, and it's beautiful. It's really, when I saw these maps, I instantly knew that this is the person I want to work with on Legend in the Mist. So very excited that this adventure will have their maps. So we mentioned the weather. The weather is obviously a big thing in our rustic fantasy. We're going to start with the weather. It's drizzly, kind of almost misty. Surprise, surprise. And you have been marching all day. Maybe I can still show the map. Nope. You have been marching all day to reach a pretty high point in the southern border, the mountains or high hills that are the southern border of your home valley. So Ravenholm is in the middle of the Ravensdale, and it's a village in the middle of the valley of the Ravensdale. And you have marched across the valley and climbed up the southern range of hills that is, like I said, that boundary of the dale towards the place where we will say Ash the apple picker said, yeah, there's that place. That's probably the closest body of water, and it's also a ruin. And you kind of crossed all your information and figured out that maybe this is the place where the poisoned Waken sentry emerged from. You've been marching all day, and maybe you can tell us a little bit, each one of you, as you're kind of marching up the hill and as things start getting, the forest starts becoming a little bit more dense around you. What are the thoughts of each one of your characters?
Well, I think my first thought is, why did I leave my pack at home? I really could use something.
And my first thought is, I'm glad that I at least have my bushel of apples, because this is so scary.
Yeah, the wise one is like this is not like, oh, I'm going on a joyous adventure. It's I hate that I have to hike out here to do what must be done. Like I am feeling it in my bones walking in this rain. But it's like, if I don't do it with these two villagers I've teamed up with, then this is just going to run rampant. This is going to ruin my day.
And he's feeling it in his joints because it's a little bit rainy.
Yeah, no, it's my bones are creaking, so are my joints. I think the wise one, when he walks, just sounds like a rocking chair, mixed with like just constant grumbling.
Awesome.
That's about right.
You guys arrive. There's the grumble from behind of the wise one. Maybe Tim is a little bit forward. Maybe at times Ash is kind of
Ash is in the center. There's an old wise man that knows how to do this, and a guy that knows how to like fight. Ash is staying in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, no, if there's any like branches or vines to like cut through, like definitely the young red marshal is taking the lead on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. If there's a big stick, I'm using it to walk. Just because, we need a big stick.
The parts of travel we're cutting over here is all the points where the wise one like kind of falls back and everyone else kind of has to wait for him a little bit to catch up. I think we've done that about like 7 times over the course of this walk to the tower.
So probably by the time you arrive, everybody's ready to end this journey, but it's only just beginning. And you arrive at what maybe once was a tower, but actually is now quite a derelict ruin with only windows. So you kind of put one and one together, perhaps, and understand that a great portion of the tower has sunk in. And there's not a lot of architecture left except for the circular shape of it. So probably any one of you who's been around here has passed this thing and just kind of ignored it. It doesn't really tell you anything about, about who built it, and perhaps you never even wondered. But you're here for a reason. You're here to find out about that poison. So I'm establishing the scene now. We are at this now. Obviously, during a normal game, I wouldn't be saying I'm establishing, but everything that I said until now is basically establishing the scene. I've called out the stakes. You're here to do something. I'm usually I would call out the challenges and threats, but the only challenge that is here at the minute is the challenge of finding out about the poison. So right now, I'm not going to call out any threats because the ball is in your hands. So a word about Spotlight. Spotlight is a flexible initiative order. every time I establish, we will pick someone else, or one of you will step forward and say, I have something to do. And it's just like a TV show where we're pointing the camera at someone else. The next time someone does it, it's not going to be the same person. And the next time someone does it, it's going to be the person that hasn't acted yet. So even if the order changes within each kind of round, we try to keep everyone acting once before letting anyone act again. So why don't we go ahead, and is there anyone here who would like to take the lead?
I think like the wise one just kind of I kind of just want to see if I know any lore about this place. Like we're walking up to this disheveled tower, and I think like just walking, I'm like, all right, what's the tales? What do I need to be looking out for in terms of like stuff I've heard passed down?
Absolutely. So let's do a quick check to see what you know. So every action in this game is resolved in the exact same way. You count up your tags, you count up the power tags that help you take the action. If there are weakness tags that prevent you from taking the action, you subtract that. So what we're doing now in the first step of the action is to, Kevin has narrated the action. The next step is rolling, and that starts by counting your power. You get 1 point of power for every tag that you invoke, and you lose 1 point of power for every weakness tag that you invoke and or that I invoke. And let's take a look at your the Wise One's character sheet. And Kevin, maybe you can let us know which tags you would like to invoke for this particular action. The invocation is always for a specific action. Right now, the Wise One is taking an action of recalling information. If I got that right, Kevin?
So I'm going to be using Old Ways Practitioner and Ancient Lore from the mystery theme. Those seem sort of like the ones directly used for like recalling like this ancient history and like, is there any tales of bad stuff going on down here?
Very good. So you want to know specifically about what is the ancient lore of this place that, is kind of just a place that you know about. Can you, an old man, recall anything about this place? Great. So you're rolling with a power of 2. And why don't you take your 2d6 and roll it and let us know.
All right.
What's the...
I got an 11 plus my 2 power, so 13 in total.
Okay, so you got a 13 for a total. So all rolls are judged by the same categories. If you get 6 or less, you generate consequences. If you get 10 or more, you basically succeed or things go your way, but without consequences. And if you get 7 to 9, you get both consequences and a success. So Kevin, the old one, is just going to recall this without any consequences. We have the option of, and this is what we've mentioned a lot, the option for this game to be narrative or tactical. And the whole thing is about whether or not we're going to add effects to Kevin's action in this situation. Because we are just starting out, and I don't want to get too technical, we're not going to add effects. We're just going to use the roll. The roll was a success, so I'm going to tell you what you know. And that's where this action is going to end. It's going to be a quick action. So the old one is kind of trying, scratching his head, trying to understand what exactly this thing was, and kind of also recalling maybe the armor that the Awakened Sentry was wearing. You start kind of putting one and one together and remembering old tales about the kingdom, the time of the great thaumaturges, the kingdom, the thriving kingdom that was this entire region, that spanned this entire region. And you think that since this is a high place, maybe this place was one of their watchtowers. And as you're kind of things are adding up for you, you think that maybe this Waken Sentry was someone who was stationed here many centuries ago.
The wise one, relays all that information and is just kind of like looking around, and I think he just goes like, "This is probably where that Waken was stationed. Be on guard yourselves. There could be more still keeping their watch."
Very good.
Well,
Just
let's see.
before you dive in, Daniel, so I just want to say we have a consequence phase now, but because there was no threat and the roll didn't generate any consequences, we're going to move on to reestablishing the scene, not a lot change, and to taking another player action. However, I will say, just for people to kind of get a clue of what could be consequences when there is no threat. We have all of this in the demo file. A lot of the consequences when there are no threats are based on the character's action. So, for example, an action of recollection could end up with someone being distracted, someone wandering off, someone getting confused, especially if there was no success. They could really get lost in thought and so on. So these are just a couple of options. Let's get back to the scene and see what the other characters are doing. Daniel, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I think hearing this, I'm going to try and first of all locate where, like, if there's any entrance or windows or places where the Waken Sentry may have like stepped out of the tower, and if there is any wet trail on the ground.
Absolutely.
And I think maybe I can use Protector of the Dale for that. I don't think I have many tags that can help me in this other than that, or maybe martial training.
Yeah. So Protector of the Dale is a motivation tag. It's a classic motivation tag. You want to protect the Dale, and it's the MC's kind of discretion to choose when does this motivation, when does it directly help you to do the action. So tags are only applicable when they directly help the action you're trying to do. So in this case, however, you're probably not going to have to roll. Like we said, we have 3 layers: narration, roll, and effect. And if you're taking an action that is only about kind of something that we can resolve with narration, we don't even have to roll. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to move your character around a little bit as you're looking for the tracks. And let's say that you arrive at an opening, and I don't know, the other characters will tell us soon if they are following you, but you arrive at an opening of a collapsed part of the wall. There are windows here and there, but they're a little high. And through that opening, you see that this place is actually submerged in murky water. You can see the little drops tapping the surface of the pond, but it's very hard to see. I mean, the raindrops. It's very hard to see what is going on inside there. Luckily, the earth is very wet, and you can really see the drag marks and the footprints of where the sentry emerged from. So you get a confirmation there. Since you didn't make a roll, you can keep the spotlight if you have something to do.
Well, I guess I'm rash, so let's go towards the pond and just stick my big stick that I collected on the trail, just poke the water and see what's up there.
Very good. You're still narrating, you're still perceiving. It doesn't necessarily evoke anything particular of a roll at the minute, but I will ask if the other characters are spreading out or kind of joining the Red Marshal Tem at the pond.
My character probably would join Tem, but for a slightly different reason. We can talk about this a little bit more later, but I think they're investigating if anyone has been here recently, like made camp, just in case like someone made the bog guy rise up, or if it was just like a natural thing.
Okay, very good. And
I think the
actually,
wise
why
one
don't
is.
we?
Oh, sorry to
Sorry, go
interrupt.
ahead.
I think the wise one is moving up like just enough to still keep like the two in his sight, but it's definitely not like right next to them. Like if something spooky pops out, like they can take care of that first. He'll watch.
Very good. So you have them in sight.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so um, going back to the red marshal, this is also a narration effect. You're dipping and twiddling the stick that you found in the water, and you're making a lot of ripples. This doesn't have an effect right now, so we're going to conclude that round with no consequences.
That
And
right now is very reassuring, Amit.
right, and we'll go to the apple picker because you actually are asking a very pertinent question. So you sort of narrated an action. Again, I'm reestablishing the scene. There are a lot of ripples on the face of the water. There is an implicit threat here. You know, I'm going to be explicit about it now, but in another game I would say something's going on, but I may not actually say I am giving you a threat. I can kind of create a little bit of a subtle threat. And we're going to the apple picker who's already thinking. Am I getting this right, Kai?
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
their mind is already kind of like what's going on. So if you want to narrate it a little more and then pick some tags out, because this is going to be cool.
Yeah, I think like they don't have the wisdom of like the old guy, and they're not at the front lines. So they're just gonna settle for investigating, I guess, because they're not particularly good at it, but it's what they can do. Um, and they're looking around to see if there's any evidence that someone has been here, was the cause of the bog guy rising up, or something like that. I don't think there's a lot of tags that fit here. Maybe finders keepers, but I that's a huge stretch.
Yeah, if you're not looking for something or hiding, finders keepers is, you can look for things to swipe. You can keep things in hiding that you've swiped. So here it won't be applicable, but it's completely possible to roll with no tags and roll with a power of 0. I am going to take a quick look at your weakness tags and see if there's something that is really relevant here. Can't sit still, belongs nowhere, never listens, and the apples only go so far. Can't sit still could maybe be an effect here, but I don't think it's very, very pertinent. So let's get back to the scene. And why don't you go ahead and roll with no tags, with no power of 0.
Okay. That's a 7. Ooh, a consequence.
7. We have both success and consequence. Again, we're going to keep this roll quick. We're not going to get into effects yet. And you do notice ahead of time that not only you don't notice any camping sites, any camp signs, but you do notice there is someone else here with you, and that they are standing on the ledge, the far ledge across from this tower. Because you had a success, I'm going to also ask you if you want to use that to make yourself scarce because they're about to come forward. You can hear very, very tiny steps or very, very delicate steps coming from that direction. Or do you stay and watch, or do you kind of take advantage of finding out about this before something happened?
I don't know if this would take like a full action, but I'm gonna probably warn the others like, hey, someone's coming. Or like,
You can
watch
definitely do
out.
that.
What?
Yeah, you can definitely do
Yeah.
that. That's a part of the success of your and let's look at who's coming. This is Sorrowbomb. But right now we're just going to say This person has joined
God, she's
at
as big as the tower.
as big as a tower.
It's impressive that she can't walk. That she can walk faintly.
It is actually
So,
like a mythological creature, by the way, just like a skeleton as tall as a building that is incredibly quiet. Anyway, mythology tangent.
So you see, you all are warned by the apple picker who sees this person coming, and there are still consequences to be had. So we're going to wait with that for a minute. But this person is kind of coming out, and she seems to be not from here. Definitely not from the Dales. The clothing she's wearing, it's very intricate. You've never seen clothing like this before. Her big eyes, she's looking at you. There's a flutter of leaves around her as she approaches. And she has the most marvelous cloak and hood over her head that are kind of, as you can see, a little pulled back.
Okay.
A part of the consequences that you could do is just introducing new threats and introducing new challenges into the scene. So we're going to go with that. But I wonder if one of you, I'm going to ask you, how are you guys affected by this person that's showing up? And maybe based on that, I'll add some consequences. So I don't think the wise one quite can see, but you can see them both, and you know someone's coming. How are you guys taking in this stranger?
So I guess my first question is, I know I don't have anything in the backpack. Do I have any sort of weaponry or anything that, to protect myself?
Of course, you have your sword.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep, maybe not take it out, but just keep the hand close to it. And I think I'm just wary of strangers that I don't recognize, even like their place of origin. Like this is not. I suppose this is not at all a thing I've experienced before.
Okay, so you draw your sword, or do you just put your hand
I'm just
on?
put the hand on the hilt and be ready to like strike if necessary, but keep it cool for the moment.
What about the others?
The wise
I'm
one
going
can't
to
see her, so yeah, he's just stepping by. He's watching, waiting for something to go down.
I'm going to step behind Tem and then probably say hi, just like, I mean, we've already seen each other. We have to say hi at this point.
Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna use the red cloak to just cover them a little bit behind me, and just assume a little bit of a protective stance, but let the kid do the talking.
Very good. I'm getting the sense that the apple picker is quite scared, so I'm actually going to use the consequences to make that into a game effect. And this is still the end of your turn. I'm going to take one of these items that we have here, which is a tracking card, and I'm going to magnify it so everybody can see it. So here we have a tracking card. Right now it's raining, but I'm going to say, you're a little scared. It's not such a nice thing to be in the woods and then be, at a ruin with murky water and a creepy feeling in the rain, and then some outlander just comes up and starts, well, she hasn't spoken yet, but startles you. So I'm going to say that this consequence is going to be scared 2. This is a status. Statuses are different from tags in the way that they apply. They also affect your power for certain actions. And whenever you, statuses are different in the sense that they also have a tag, but they have a rating from 1 to 6, or a tier from 1 to 6. And I'm going to say you're going to take scared 2. However, as a part of the consequence phase, and of course we are explaining everything very, very slowly here, but this is going to be a part of the flow later. You get to mitigate that. So the question is to you, what tags do you have? You're going to make a roll in exactly the same way that you roll for an action, but this is a reaction. You're going to try to fight off being scared. And that will allow you to somewhat reduce or even completely remove this status that you're about to receive. You can only mitigate when you're actually, it's an incoming status, you're about to receive it. Once you've received it, you're going to need an action to shake it off. So, Kai, do you have any tags in your character sheet that would be appropriate for shaking off fear?
I think it would probably like the two most likely would be Scrappy and Rascal. Scrappy because you're not the boss of me, and like it's unfounded, but you're not the boss of me, and she isn't, as far as I know.
Yeah, she's not the boss of you. I will definitely take Scrappy and Rascal. I mean, you're very indignant. It's very hard to try and you're scared for a moment, but then your reaction is like to buck it, to go against it maybe. That's really cool. So why don't you roll with a power of 2, and let's see what you get.
Oh, another 7, so that's a 9.
Right. So this is a little different. When you mitigate, you don't generate new consequences. You just get your 2 power in order to spend on reducing a status or a tag that you're getting. If you had rolled 10 or more, you would get 1 extra power, so 3 power. But in this case, 2 power is all you need, and you're just going to reduce this from 2 by 1 status tier for each point of power. And in that case, it's going to be back to 0, which means that you are off the hook for this status. So can you describe a little bit what the apple picker is going through in that moment?
I think what happens based on like what Tem has done, Tem's probably gonna step in front of the apple picker Ash, and then Ash is gonna like duck behind, but then like okay, like Tem is not doing the talking, so Ash will puff out their chest and like step a little bit like still behind Tem, but still in a place where they can have a conversation with the stranger that's arrived.
Very good.
I do kind of like the energy of like, hey, Red Marshal, hold me back. Then I could be like, what?
That's definitely what it's looking like.
Yeah.
So let's reestablish the scene. I am this person, this young woman, kind of gently skips down the stones, the slope of that ledge, and approaches you. Oops, I guess we need to be a little more zoomed in to see that. And kind of is settles on the rubble that is just across from you. She's looking at you, Tem, and she says, "I wouldn't do that if I were you. You don't know what's down there."
Okay, the first I wouldn't do that if I were you. I thought it was referring to my sword, so I'm immediately just going to start like looking around to see if there are more of them that I can see. But I guess at this point I just dropped my stick and I'm just like, and you are?
My name is Sorrowbomb. I'm a visitor from another land.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Where is other land?
Well, it's south of here, quite far. I don't know if you know these lands. But I am in a little bit of a problem that I hope you could help me with. You see, there's something down the pond that I need you to get for me. And I would be very, very grateful. I can offer you anything if you could go down there. I've found this place and I've been looking for it for many years. I think there is a family heirloom buried at the bottom of it. Would you help me? And I'm going to make that a little bit of a threat, but more in the sense that she's not threatening you, but she has a problem and she's asking for help. This could get you implicated or you're going to get dragged into this, and it's a possible consequence of this conversation if you keep talking to her.
I'm gonna just quickly shoot back a look at the wise one. Just be like, help me out here.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I think the wise one, like as soon as he starts hearing conversation, like walks around the corner to the tower and sees this person in like strange, colorful clothes, like saying some cryptic stuff. I think in general the wise one is incredibly suspicious because didn't Sorrowbomb like immediately go, "Hey, don't look in that. You don't know what it is, but also I will give you anything you desire if you go look in that."
She totally did.
I think the wise one is just like he's gonna do his best to just kind of like leap over that like request and just like ask her like, does she know anything about like the poison that we're investigating, like the walking bog corpses, like really just straight up ask her like, here's what we're here for, do you know anything about this?
Very good. So we established, we made a threat. The wise one is taking the spotlight and is you're basically trying to glean more information from this young woman.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think the only tag I would have for that is can't fool me. Just in like that is very much the energy of just like, all right, let's cut the cryptic stuff. I want to go home.
So you're having none of that. And I mean, you're also kind of wondering to yourself, what is this person really doing here? It's not every day that you encounter someone from outside of the Dales. So cover your ears, players, not really, but we're going to take a deeper look into the challenge profile of Sorrowbomb and try to understand what some of the mechanical elements that she has that are informing my choices here. So so we see, we're not going to get into the whole story and reveal it, but we see that she has a bunch of tags and she has a limit. She's very squishy. Cover your ears, players, but for a good reason. A limit is how you get rid or overcome a challenge. So Sorrowbomb, if she was to get hurt, she would be overcome. Although there are some special rules up here that regard that part. In order to max out a limit, the players will have to give her a status, a harmful status with tier 1 or higher. She also has tags and statuses that she's starting with. She's starting with Mysterious 2, Fleeting 3, and Aware 3. And these are only used to affect the actions of the players. So right now, the wise one is trying to understand suss out this outlander, but this outlander is Mysterious 2. She has the status Mysterious 2. So this status is going to knock off 2 power from the wise one's action. We can also look at this section about the threats and consequences. This particular challenge has it's a temptation challenge. Okay, the main thing that it does in the scene is to tempt the players to try and go into the pond, and we can see the threat and the consequences. So this is how challenges are going to be presented. The threat, which I already made, with an eerie smile, plead with the companions to obtain the chest for her. I didn't describe the chest. I just said, get something from the bottom of the lake, the pond. And if the consequences is to be fulfilled, we will have tempt someone with a promise of something they want. And they can even be either be tempted, or if they agree, they could be bound by an agreement, right? It's not necessarily a mystical thing, but you agree to something, so you feel like you want to fulfill it. So this is like a little preview of this interaction. We don't actually have to close that, but we'll place this back in the. And let us make this roll. Let us make this roll and see what happened. Are you able to suss out Sorrow Bomb? At this point, what I would say to this player is I won't reveal the whole card, but I will say, okay, Wise One, you have your 1 power from Can't Fool Me. I think also seeing a thing or two is appropriate here because it's related to Can't Fool Me. It's like you're an experienced individual. You can't, you can't fool me in that sense. But I'm going to tell you.
I would also say probably my grumpy weakness tag would probably be a detriment to me here, because I am just kind of like rocking up and being like, "Hey, we want to know this."
Yeah, if it's definitely could be something that doesn't help you. I'm going to put the mysterious status so you guys can see that she's mysterious as a mechanical effect. So yes, you have 2 powers from your tags, 1 weakness power that you're activating. So you have only 1 power now, and then a negative status that will take its tier off your power. So you're actually with a -1 power. And why don't you go ahead and roll there, Kevin?
Well, I got a really good roll last time, so I'm pretty sure my luck's going to run out on this one. And that's a 7 - 1, 6. That is a failure.
That is a complete consequence. Okay, so you come forward and you say these things, and she looks at you, and she's actually kind of ignores you for a moment and stares at the Red Marshal again and says, "Will you help me?" And here we have a couple of options in terms of consequences. I could pick out any consequences that I want. I could say that the Wise One is ignored or they're insulted, but it doesn't read to me like that's the situation. I can also look at Sorrow Bomb's other threats and consequences and choose something from there. So she's actually very good at making people sleepy. And it's not going to be something visible. As I describe this, I'm actually going to be very, very kind of vague about it. But I'm going to say to Kevin, Kevin, all of a sudden you feel like this whole discussion, and especially her reaction, the fact that she's not really responding to you this whole day, everything about this day is starting to really weigh down on you, and you are reminded of how old you are. And you just kind of slump down on a rock, and maybe, I don't know, you describe it, maybe still say a couple of grumpy things and shout into the air, but slowly, you're feeling like you're getting very tired. And I'm going to say, I'm going to take it a little far, and I'm going to say tired 4.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Now, can I mitigate against that?
You can definitely mitigate against it. And
I think the one tag that I would have against like a exhausted or tired status would just be like tough cookie. Like I'm old, but I can still like walk around. Um, that said, I would also say that old bones would, as a weakness tag, would probably be very relevant. So I think it's just a +0.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah, your
um,
hip's really hurting today, so that's gonna be.
let's
0
take
is
a
better than
moment.
-1.
Yes, absolutely. Let's take a look here at what is happening on your card, Kevin, because actually, um, you've already used Grumpy as a weakness tag in the action for this turn.
mhm.
And when you do that, you gain 1 experience. If you're going to use also Old Bones, you're going to get 1 experience also on your Seen a Thing or Two theme. So this is what it's going to look like. And why don't you go ahead and you're rolling with, did we say 0?
Yeah, 0. It's tough cookie minus old bones. So unless she has any statuses to help with her sleepy spell or whatever.
No, she doesn't have any statuses. That would be an interesting tactical thing to have, like a tag that weakens your player's ability to mitigate a certain type of damage. This is not the case here.
Mhm.
So we're just going to focus on tired.
Yep. I rolled a 6, so another failure.
Okay. So we have our first status. This is a quite a heavy damage. You're all but falling asleep. You sit down, but with the same thing, I'm going to say that you think it quite odd. You think it quite odd, given your old ways practitioner. The coincidence seems something that you're starting to frantically think about as you are falling asleep.
There's very much like the
Um,
old man like falling asleep mid-sentence, like, I don't know who you are, but I just want to know. Hang on. And then just sits on a rock.
um, for the other two, I'm reestablishing the scene. For the other two, you don't directly notice anything totally weird about it. It's odd that he chose now to do this, but there is definitely some feeling in the air. There's a tension. There's there's a flutter of leaves again around this strange lady as she's asking you, "Will you help me? I really need that family heirloom that's at the bottom."
I guess I'm gonna look at Ash and be like, "What do you say?"
I'm going to like because this is a video chat and it's very hard to whisper. I will be whispering this. But I'll probably say like, I don't know. I was planning on getting the old guy to figure out if it was a trap or not, because this feels like a trap, but what if it is just like a someone that needs help? Like uh, I'm not gonna say no. I don't know.
Are the leaves still floating around her?
No, it's just a flutter. It's a passing thing.
Okay.
Just enough to
Uh,
like be weird, but not enough to know that it's her that's making it weird.
uh, well, the old guy's already falling asleep, so okay. What do you need from there? I'm just gonna talk like, you know, I'm feigning courage.
Sorry, can you say that again?
I'm just gonna say, so what exactly do you need? I'm just feigning courage here.
Feigning courage. Got you. She says, it's a quick dive to the bottom. Like I said, I don't know what is down there now, but there should be a chest or something that contains my family's treasure. And whatever else you find there is yours, and I'll pay you, or I'll tell you what, you know, whatever whatever it is you wish to know, but I have to obtain it.
I have a question about like the little pool. Like, how deep is it? Is it like you can wade in it, or you have to dive into it?
You can't see into it very deep. So, but according to what Sorobam is saying, it sounds like it's a dive.
Ooh.
Uh, well, I got some stuff that's gonna rust if I don't take care of it. So, Ash, how good are you at swimming? Just, I can do it. I can definitely do it.
I think I can. I probably can dive in. What's a quick
Uh,
dip in the pool?
okay.
Um,
I'm gonna go back to my stick and just like just let it sink as far as I can go. Like just I assume it's a pretty long stick. I found the biggest stick I could find. So just hold it from like the very 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 tip and just go as deep as I can. See how long it goes before it like sticks in something.
It goes all in.
I'm gonna take it out and just compare it to the Ash's height. Just be like, is it taller than her than them?
Yes, it is taller than them.
Oh, okay. You sure you want to do this?
it's like I'll look back at Sarabam. Like, is it like a heavy chest, or can I just like go in and pick it up? Like,
Hmm. It is a little heavy, maybe. I don't know what else is in there. I haven't seen the chest. I am assuming they're keeping it in the chest, or they kept it in the chest. But maybe you can open it. It should be
uh,
quite rotted by now.
I'll try it. I really hate to say it, but what could possibly go wrong?
Do I
Very,
have
very
any
Hey,
rope
much.
at
you're a
all?
brave soul for the purpose of the um, stream. Very
So
good.
There's very much an energy with like the wise one just like falling asleep of like the grandpa on like the park bench. Like he's resting his eyes. Meanwhile, the kids are like, "Oh yeah, I'll jump off the jungle gym."
so
Very good.
do I have any sort of rope or anything? Again, I
Right.
see the rope on my backpack, but I know that I don't have anything in the backpack. So
Yeah, so that's a great time to talk about gear because we've been asked a lot about the backpack. So gear in Legend in the Mist is a narrative. So just like in the movie, you don't actually see the lead character packing each and every item they have. You don't see them counting their coins. This is a movie. This is a fantasy novel. You can get description of things, but you don't have an inventory. Very different from a video game feel. And in that sense, you actually have in the narrative, you could have all kinds of instruments, all kinds of gear that are reasonable that you would have. Um, However, they won't give you a +1 if they are not represented by a tag. So whenever you pack things, in the game, you choose the important things. You know that scene when you're packing or the hero is packing and you see them holding out their rope and putting it in the bag, or holding out a satchel of herbs and putting it in the bag. And you know these things are going to be important later. That's the packing scene.
okay,
Having said that, I will say, let's say that you do have a rope and let's
okay,
make that a tag. So I'm going to go to your backpack, and usually that will be something that happens before the actual scene in downtime or the packing moment. Um, but let's say that you have a rope here and you can work with it.
okay. So I'm gonna just first of all just like tie it around my waist so I can have my hands free, and then
Yes.
just probably like wrap it around their waist too, right? Is it
Yeah.
good? Like,
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
okay, can you move well?
I mean, at worst, I can just untie it in the water and just like hold on to it. So, or just tie it to the
Okay,
chest, maybe. If there is a,
sounds
yeah,
sounds
tie it
like a
to
good
whatever heavy
idea. Actually,
object. Yeah, okay.
definitely thought of that. That was definitely
Very good. Okay, so this action of tying a rope could be an action of giving them a tag or a status, a positive tag or status called tied or something like that. But actually, I'm going to do something that's called delaying an action, and we're going to see how well that worked only when the rope is going to be put to the test. Right now, we're just going to say, you did it, you're tying it. That's not an action you have to roll for.
Okay.
If I wanted to get tactical, I would opt for you to choose effects and to start applying it. But we do want to get to start choosing effects. So why don't let's take that dive there, Ash, and see how it goes. The scene is the same. Sorobam is very thankful. She just nods her head with her leaves fluttering about her every now and then. Um, the wise one is kind of a little snoozy, and you guys are getting ready to get down there. And Ash, what tags do you have in order to dive into a dark pond?
Probably not a lot. The best I can say is maybe deft hands, but I guess swimming is a hands and feet thing, so that's on you. Like that depends.
You can do
Yeah,
a doggy
let's
paddle,
take a
and
look.
that could work.
What's that?
They can do a doggy paddle, and that may work with deft hands.
Yeah, I think deft hands is more about like really like, fine manipulation stuff.
Hmm.
But that's the way I would interpret it. I definitely think being scrappy though is a something that, you can deal with your, in a lot of different situations. You know how to get in there. You have that courage.
Okay.
And I think that really applies into diving into a dark, murky pond. So why don't you roll with +1? However, I'm going to bring into play the card for the pond itself. So dangerous places also are challenges. They use the same rules. So in this case, we can see that the pond has a limit of 3. Like to get rid of this pond entirely, you would have to cleanse it. But you can also dive into it without getting rid of it as a challenge. If this was a land to traverse, like I would want the traversal to be over time and over multiple actions, I would give it a traverse limit. But this is a kind of a dive in and out situation, so it doesn't have that limit. And now we can see that it does have the tags murky, underwater, entangling plants, which I will not reveal to the players yet, and heavy chest, which I also won't reveal. Right now, none of these things, as you just dive in, doesn't really, really, really pose a problem. But except for underwater, because if you're going to have to dive through the water, it's going to be harder than just walking. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to grab a tracking card and just put a tag here, not a status, underwater. So that you would know, that this is a thing. So you have a +1 and a -1. Now, let's talk a little bit about some power options. If you want to get a better outcome, you can burn your tags, which is basically temporarily shutting them down. And then each tag that you burn, you can only burn 1 tag in a roll. The tag that you burn will be worth 3 power instead of 1. So, Kai, do you want to burn your tag for Scrappy in order to get more power and reach the bottom of the pond? Or do you want to save it for potentially other things that might come up?
This feels like probably a pretty high stakes situation. So yes, I do want to burn it, but I do have a question. I think
Yes.
a minor departure from like City of Mist, the first game I played in Legend of the Mist, is that the names of like each trait or like thing, it's now a tag that you can burn. So if you burn that name of the theme, does the entire theme card get burned, or is it just like the singular tag?
Great question. So if you burn Scrappy, are all the other things going to get burned? The answer is no. Only the theme title will be burned, because it is almost it operates exactly like a power tag. We just make it bigger, so it's more of like the title of the theme. So it won't burn all your other things.
Okay. In that case, I will be burning Scrappy.
Okay, and if you burn Scrappy, then you're rolling with a power of 3, -1 for underwater, a power of 2. Why don't you go ahead and roll?
That is that's an 11.
Ooh.
Or that's a 9 plus 2.
Awesome. Very good. So you make a dive to the bottom. And at first there's like cold water, big splash, cold water, and you're just kind of swimming through this murky stuff. It's very, very hard. There's a lot of things in the water. It's very hard to see what's down there. And you kind of swim deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. You go quite deep. You hold your breath until in the depth you see a chest, a rotten chest amidst a lot of vines and water plants that are kind of just like moving at the bottom, at the muddy bottom of this murky pond. Since you rolled an 11, there's no consequence for this action. And we're going to reestablish the scene. As you are, I'm going to speed things up a little bit in this scene. As you are exploring, kind of looking around and spotting the chest, you see something big suddenly moving beside you in the water. Something big and long is swooshing next to you, maybe rubbing against one of your arms. And Tem, there is a big ripple in the water. Something is moving inside of there. It's hard to tell if it's just ash thrashing. For a moment, it's hard to tell. But then from above, you see a dark, long shadow coiling around Ash.
Oh,
What do
okay.
you do?
I'm gonna immediately just start just pulling on the rope and just trying to get them out of there. I
Okay.
think I'm gonna use athletic and brute strength, which I think are definitely useful. Probably I don't know if runner stamina would work in this.
Well, since you just started pulling, I don't think so. If you lasted for a long time, maybe.
So yeah, I think those two, and I'm willing to burn athletic if it's necessary.
Sorry, so it was brute strength and athletic?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Shall I roll?
Yeah, you can roll with +2.
Leon Glazer says this is the price of your stick-based hubris.
Okay, so I rolled 2 ones, so that's gonna be a 4.
Perfect.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, Ash.
This is the price of the stick-based hubris.
Yeah, could it be one stick?
Totally. I'm going to use consequences to say that you tug, but I don't know if it's tangled, the rope is tangled, or Ash isn't ready to come out, or whatever happens. You kind of pull. You see that you're not successful, and you're about to pull again when a chunk of rocks that is behind you just collapses. The place you were standing on was not fit for pulling, and you fall into the murky water.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Meanwhile, the wise one is like,
Oh yeah, no, there is a splash, there is a second bigger splash, and the wise one is still like, huh? I was watching that.
Very good. I'm going to give you a status here, Tim, of
oof.
surprised. You
Okay.
really didn't think this would happen. I'm going to say it's a surprise 2. And in this case, I don't feel like you have a super great way of mitigating it, unless you can come up with one, because it's just the nature of surprise. So unless you're very especially vigilant, you do have stand watch. That's something
Yeah.
different.
I'm
Unless you're
thinking
especially ready. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm think maybe feign courage. Like I am surprised, but I am still like keeping it cool to some extent.
No, I definitely think that feign courage is that you're faking it, and you are in no position to fake it. You just fell into a ice cold pond
Yeah,
that's
no, fair
murky
enough.
with
I'm
a
gonna
big
take it.
thing. Yeah, if there
I'll
is a
take it.
limit where you can fake it, maybe in a minute when you gain your bearings, that's fine.
Yeah,
But for now,
yeah,
you're going to be surprised too. And
yeah.
this
I'm
time,
probably just aspiring water and stuff.
yeah, swallowing water. This statuses and tags that are in the game last for as long as they make sense narratively. So I'm going to say it's just going to affect probably one action before you're going to um, use it. Okay,
So
we
so
haven't
real
used
quick,
effects yet. Yeah.
actually, there is another surprise that just went down. The Legend in the Mist Kickstarter has just broke 500K
What?
during the stream.
Yay!
We have
I
reached
love
that.
that.
That's amazing. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your support. This is amazing. Well, in that case, you will also be able to play these scenes on your own or with just one other person, because this is going to be our stretch goal for solo or duo modes for this game. Okay. So going back, we're running out of time. I want to accelerate a little bit by revealing the last challenge here. Not the Awakened Sentry.
I was about to say, if
but
there's another one in that water, I'm gonna be so mad.
There's a very long Awakened Sentry.
by the way, I totally think that there can be another one in those water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I was basically fishing for that thing with Asha in like at the end of the road.
Oh
Basically.
no.
That's totally what you did. Great. So we have the poison worm, and we're going to roll it in so we can deal a little bit with effects, okay? We've been rolling solely quick outcomes up until this point, but now we're going to make this interesting. There's going to be drowning. There's going to be a bunch of stuff. And I know we're a little bit over time, but I think it's worthwhile to show people how this goes. And then we can talk a little bit and do questions. The poison worm is another challenge. I've introduced it. I've created the threats for it. I'm going to use the consequence to surprise you, Red Marshal Tem, but also and then I'm going to kind of roll it out in full in the next established phase that we're having right now. And I'm going to say this is an attacker. This thing wants to eat you. Usually players cover your ears and eyes both at the same time, but usually players can't see the limits. They're invisible to them. So they don't know how to necessarily, or what are the pathways to necessarily overcoming a challenge. But we're just going to ignore the fact that you saw it, and we're going to continue. But this time, actually, the first person that's going to act, because you still haven't acted in this round, is the wise one. What do you do? And we're going to keep, sorry, just one last thing, Kevin, my bad. We're going to keep things pretty rapid going forward, just so that we can get a lot of actions and crunch into this demo. Yes.
Okay, cool. I want to roll to, well, basically the wise one knows he is sleepy right now, knows that this is the worst time to be sleepy, so he's going to reach into his medicine bag and try to like drink a pick me up. So I want to use my tags apothecary and medicine bag to like basically just fish out like an energy drink. I don't really have any weakness tags for this, so I think it's just a +2. Now, I'm trying to heal the tired force status. Does that affect my roll while I am trying to heal it, or am I unaffected by that status for the purposes of this roll?
Very, very, very good question. Obviously, MC Kevin has been running our games for so long, so you're setting me up here, which is great. Yes, so we know that this guy is tired 4. If someone else tried to heal you, that would be just kind of using your power to knock down that status. But since you're trying to do that to yourself as you're falling asleep, that status applies to the very action. It's like someone bandaging themselves. So I would say, yes, absolutely, it applies. So you actually have a -4 for this action. You're narratively quite badly wounded, and you're trying to heal yourself. Are you going to burn
I'm going.
one of your tags?
I want to burn medicine bag. Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to burn medicine bag for 3. You're going to have apothecary for 4. Any other thing that you can add here?
That's about it. That's what I've got.
Okay, sounds good. So let's do it. Roll.
Cool. So it's just a +0, right?
It's a +0, yeah.
I rolled a 10.
Nice. So you get no consequences, and you do get 1 point of power automatically whenever you have a success. So usually you would spend your power. If you had 3 power, you spend 3 power. If you had 1, you'd spend 1. But if you have 0 or less, a success automatically gives you 1 point to spend. In addition to that, there is also another push option where you can suffer consequences, other consequences, in order to push your power by 1. So you could actually have 2 points here.
Yeah, I'm gonna push the consequences so that way I can get 2 power. Really try to get this status out. There's something in me that's just like, this is not the time to be tired.
Very good. As you shake it off to tier 2, you're starting to wake up and realize a little bit what's going on around you. As for your consequences, I am going to burn one of your tags. So when you burn a tag, you get 3 power for it. But when I deal consequences, I can also burn your tags. And in this case, I'm actually, you burned medicine bag. I'm also going to burn apothecary.
So
to say that.
So yeah, so the medicine bag being burned is because I voluntarily burned it, and then the burning of apothecary is the consequence.
Yes, the consequence of what you did is that you basically, we can say that you screwed up your medicine tag, but you also, you used some kind of a pick-me-up that really, really affects your, your memory. And I could use it as a status, but for now, I'm just going to say you're not going to be a very good apothecary cooking up things on the spot going forward until you rest a little bit. Okay, that's your action. Going back to you guys, let's go back to Ash. Ash, what is happening? You see this creature emerge and start coiling around you when suddenly there's a big splash and your would-be anchor just falls into the water together with you, probably pulling you down.
I mean, staying together is probably the worst course of action. We're just going to like be an endless feedback loop of drowning. So I think Ash is gonna try to slip out of the grasp of this like big worm and also out of the rope if possible. I mean, I'm pretty sure they both go hand in hand.
Okay, so just slip out of the rope, did you say?
Slip out of like I think the way that you described it, I'm also in the grasp of the worm as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so
So
I'm gonna try to slip out of both if possible.
great. So you're swimming away. You're basically spending your action dodging this thing and addressing the threat that I made, which is a very smart thing to do. Because if you didn't, this threat, coil and turn, so as no, that's not the one. Slither forward, flanking its prey, will end up with you being constricted too. You don't know this, but you know it's bad news. So that's a good idea. What tags do you have for moving like that?
There's Rascal and there's also Roll with a Blow, which we haven't talked about much, but I'm assuming is like rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would, yeah.
I'll let that could work. I think that could work. So you have a +2. Why don't you go ahead and roll?
Would it be possible to burn Roll with a Blow? Because this is, oh, I'm rolling out of this.
Sure, you can burn that. So you're rolling with 4.
Hmm. Oh, okay. So that is an 8 plus 4. That's a 12.
Nice. No consequences. You block the threat and you swim away from this thing. Um, I will give you another option. If you, in a quick outcome, if you push it and you accept consequences, not necessarily the consequences that you escaped from, because that's your success. But if you escape consequence, if you accept them, you can actually get a great success, something bigger than what you tried to do. In this case, you could probably grab the chest while you're at it. Do you want to push it or no?
My priority is Tem, not the chest. So I want to get out of there as soon as possible so I can start helping Tem out. Like we can always defeat this thing afterward and then go after the chest, or maybe the chest won't matter anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you escape unscathed from the situation. Tim, we're back to this thing. Totally circles back to now. Catch Tim. Tim, what do you do?
Okay, so do I notice that Ash is completely out of water now?
Are you out of the water, Ash, or did you just get out of the?
Trying to get out of the water, and
Oh, okay.
so you can determine whether or not I'm actually out.
Yeah, I would say definitely you're at the surface. So you just emerged, but you're in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
On the
then
surface.
I'm going to. God, what am I gonna do? I think I'm gonna try and swim up because I don't think I can defeat this thing inside the water. So,
I mean, you have
uh,
quite a few tags for sword fighting. You can
I
be
do.
pretty good at it.
I'm okay. I'm gonna try and use my knife just to like, oh sorry, my sword just to like try and call for the attention of the worm, so that I presume like if I know how aquatic animals work, if you're thrashing at the surface, that's not good for anyone. So I'm gonna try and just pull the attention of the worm towards me by slashing at the closest thing I can feel or see around me. And I'm gonna use swordsmanship, martial training, and if possible, I want to add a villager's shield to protect Ash.
Okay, that's a separate action. So let's
Oh,
focus
okay.
on if you have a very successful action, you might be able to throw that in. But it's very
Okay.
important to separate actions in this game to like distinct things, because otherwise all the tags start adding up.
Okay.
So
Fantastic.
you're trying to distract the thing. That's your focus.
Yeah, my focus right now is to get it to focus on me so that Ash can get away.
Very good. Okay, let's do that.
So I'm running at +2, I presume?
Yes.
Okay. That's 9 + 2, that's an 11.
Amazing. You do get it to focus on you, and without any effects, without any consequences. Specifically, something like getting something to focus on you is not is not something that needs effects. You just do it narratively. So that's a quick check in the middle of a battle. It can also happen.
Okay.
Having said that, even though your roll didn't generate consequence, you didn't really mitigate or address the threat that the things was coming at you. You just wanted to keep it at you. And it does
Right.
come at you. So the consequence
Okay.
that you're going to take is the consequence that is listed on the card, which is in this case, it's going to bite you for wounded 2. We'll leave the poison
Okay.
1 for now. What you can do is mitigate. What
Yeah,
cards, what tags do you have that can mitigate?
I think I can use probably the red armor, which I presume
Yes.
could apply. And I'd say probably the best thing I can think of beyond that is maybe brute strength to like just take
You
it.
want to use brute strength to wrestle with it and like prevent it from
Yeah,
biting you?
yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm gonna roll again. Do I
Wait,
take any penalties behind?
you
Sorry?
take penalty from surprised.
That's true.
So you're
So
rolling with nothing.
can I burn brute strength?
Yes, you can. You burn brute strength.
Yeah, so I should be at +1, I think.
So brute strength gives you 3. Your other tag gives you 1. The
Okay, yeah.
other tag, that's 4. And you get -2 from your surprise status. So you're at +2.
Okay. There we go. Okay, that's 4 + 2, that's a 6. So I don't think I do anything.
Oh, you don't mitigate.
Ooh.
You're no longer surprised, as we said. It's kind of a status that narratively only lasts a very short time, but you are wounded to this worm, whatever it is. You try to fight it off, but it actually gets very close, and it doesn't actually bite you, but it does insert one of its very large fangs into your shoulder, wounding you significantly.
Yeah.
And you're in the water, wounded. Let's do another round of actions. Kevin, what does the old wise one do when he sees whatever is happening in the water?
Much. Truth be told, I mean, like, he's just kind of getting his bearings. He's still got tired too, but he sees, like, Sorrow Bomb, and he sees now a bunch of thrashing in the water, immediately puts, like, okay, both of them shouldn't be in the water. Not much he can do, though, in terms of dealing with a worm underwater. um, let's see, and he doesn't have his apothecary stuff anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I think he just kind of like rushes over to the water and like sees just like thrashing about. I think he's just going to give like a protective ward to the Red Marshal if he can, specifically with his tags Old Ways Practitioner and Wards and Protections.
So what kind of blessing or ward are we thinking about here? It's not, we're not in a kind of a setting when a shield suddenly appears around them. What is this effect going to do for the Red Marshal?
I think it's just sort of a like a strengthening of his materials, like drawing upon the significance of the red armor that he's wearing to like, all right, this, like resonating with the emotional significance of like the red armor to make it physically more protective.
Sounds amazing.
That's
Why don't you roll for it?
so 2 tags -2 tired, so I'm just rolling +0, and that is a 7.
Very good. So you have at least 1 power. What do you just want to give him a warded tag?
Warded 1, just to help him out.
That's great. It's going to be very useful because he's also wounded, as we've seen. And what I would like to do in this last round is for us specifically, because you guys have been playing a great game, and very narrative and in the atmosphere. I would like us to try and do things that use effects. We used a little bit of effects before when um, the wise one reduced their status. That was a restore effect. You spend points in order to reduce it. We used an effect now. That is an enhanced effect when the wise one spent their points, their power points, on giving a awarded status to the Fred Marshal. So take a look at the effects list, and let's try to just finish off with one round of actions that are all tactical in the sense that they use effects and they are numerical. We're measuring things, or you're either removing or adding tags from the scene, and see where that goes. So again, this thing that has just bitten Tim is going to try to pull him into the depths. Ash, you see this very closely. What do you do?
Is the worm fully under the water?
It is, yes, but very
Okay.
close to the surface.
Okay. Because if it's close enough to the surface, I think like Ash will probably throw apples at it, just like pelt it, like just like have projectiles on its like back or whatever they can see, but I don't know if it's close enough to the surface to do that.
You can probably hit its body, but what kind of outcome are you hoping to achieve? Do you want it distracted?
Distract, definitely. Or just like throw it off its rhythm.
I like it. Cool. So, what are your tags for apples?
Bushel of apples, strong throw, and I think deft hands.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get a +3 here. Go ahead and roll for it.
Okay. Oh, well, that was a 6, but that's +3, so that's 9.
Very good. Great. So you have 3 points of power to spend. The effect for creating an impeding status for your enemy is called disrupt, and you get 1 point for each point of power. Do you want to just put it all in and distract?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Or what was the name of the tag that you said?
The tags that I used were bushel of apples, strong throw, and deft hands, and I said to distract.
Oh, okay. I thought you said something else like throw off their game, but this is good too.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, throw, if you want to use throw off their game, throw them off the rhythm. That is the phrasing I used, but that's a little long for like.
Okay. We won't fit
That's
it
what's
here,
important,
but
throwing them
anyway.
off the rhythm. Street smarts.
Yes. Street smarts.
Cool. So distract is here. This is what your action did. You also take consequences. I'm gonna just say for now, we're gonna burn your bushel of apples because you're going all out and you're gonna have to pick more apples before so we're gonna burn that tag as consequences of this action. And you won't be able to throw more apples until you collect more. Tim, what do you do in this moment?
I mean, I think the worm is already distracted, so I mean I could just get out of here, but I want to like apply some sort of status. So yeah, I guess I have 2 ideas. I can just attack them with my sword, or I can try and I presume that the rope is still like it still has the loop where Ash slipped out of.
Yes.
So I'm gonna try and see if now that the mouth is open and probably like just reeling back, try and use it to wrap it around the mouth of the worm and just try and tighten it so that it cannot bite anymore.
Okay, so you're going for like a restrained thing. Now, as
Yeah.
the MC, I'm looking here and I'm seeing that the worm has a limit of hurt 3, but the players aren't going for that. They're going for restraining. So I'm just going to change it. I'm going to change it to something similar. Like if they want to subdue the worm, that's also going to require 3 points. Of course, the players
Okay.
don't know that. So why don't you go ahead and roll?
Okay. So I think athletic I already burned, so I cannot use it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have brute strength, which
Yes.
and I think feign courage could actually apply here because I'm trying to do something that's quite dangerous, but you know, trying my best.
Okay. Fake it till
So
you make it.
yeah. So I don't know if I can burn any of those or if that's going to be like I'm not actually familiar with that part of the system, so I don't know if I can burn both of them just to get as much as
No,
much power as I can.
you can only burn one tag in each.
Okay, so I'm gonna burn brute strength just because I think I'm getting tired and I'm already wounded. So I'm gonna use burn brute strength and just add feign courage just to get as much of it as I can.
That's a total of 4.
Right?
Distract gives you another +3. So in
Oh,
its roll, you get the best status and the worst status. Distract gives you
okay.
+3, gives you 7, but wounded gives you -2, brings you back to 5. There is
Okay.
also the matter of these 2 tags that this challenge has. It is both mighty and a strong swimmer. Both of these things are operating against you when you're trying to subdue it underwater. I could even say that underwater itself is making things hard for you, but that's
Okay.
represented by swimmer. So we're going to say that it brought you down from 5 to 3. So go ahead and roll with 3.
Okay. Let's see how it goes. Okay, that's a 6. I can see that one. Oh, that's a 3. So that's 9 plus 3. That's 12.
12, awesome. So you actually are using the attack effect. It doesn't have to be a damaging attack, but
Okay.
you're trying to subdue it or restrain it. Do you use all your 3 points on restraining it?
Yep. I that's my main goal right now. It's not to die inside of a murky pond.
That's a great goal for life. Great. You successfully restrain the beast underwater with your rope. What an amazing feat that will probably be told for years to come if anybody knew about it. But we're pretty sure you're going to let them know about it.
Yeah,
Um,
they are
so
going to know.
there are, I'm going to make sure they're going to know. Very good.
Yes.
Um, because this exceeds or meets or exceeds the limit of the this restraint is actually meeting or exceeding the limit of what we defined
Mm.
for overcoming this creature. It is overcome in the way that you use. So in this case, it's just not going to give you any more trouble, and it's just kind of contained in rope and sinking slowly to the bottom where it can breathe just fine. So no problem there. Distract goes away. It's no longer distracted. If it had attacked you back, the warded would have clicked in again and help you mitigate.
Mm.
But we're about to wrap this up. What is the one last thing that the wise one is doing to
I
kind
mean,
of wrap up the scene for us?
yeah, I think the wise one like sees that like the conflict is like wrapping up like in the water, but everyone's like still swimming. So I think the wise one like turns towards Sarabam and is like just with the most like suspicious eyes, just like, "Who are you, and what do you seek within these waters?"
And I think that is a great point to cut.
Yay.
Great cliffhanger.
Ooh,
If you want to
Yeah.
know
mystery.
more, check out the Tinderbox demo of Legend in the Mist, which you can access on the Legend in the Mist Kickstarter page.
Yep.
Exactly, absolutely. Yeah, that last section was to show a little bit of the tactical elements and how every detail, like restrained, distract, surprise, warded, wounded, tired, mysterious, could play into an action scene or an exploration scene or any type of scene that you would like to have in this game. So with that, we don't have a lot of time left for questions, but we can probably spend at least half an hour on that. And I thank you very much, players. This was really, really awesome to have you here. Feel free to chime in and answer questions or ask questions as we go into this phase. And I thank everyone who's watching. Thank you so much for checking this game out with us. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about this run, it'll be very fresh in our mind. So fire away.
Yeah.
But also any questions that you might have about the Kickstarter.
Let's see here. So starting on questions, Milwana asks, and this is relevant because we just broke the stretch goal. Do solo rules cover having an MC player character?
So the thing with solo rules is that we recognize how important they are and how much we wanted to include them very, very much in the book. But we do still want to take a long sit down and figure out exactly what we're going to do there. So I don't know this very specifics of what the solo rules are going to be included, is going to be included in the solo rules, but I do know that before the end of the Kickstarter, we're going to have a much more specified answer for that. And if you think that having an MC character is something that would be cool, then we'd love to hear about it more and factor it into what we decide.
Symmetry asks, will there be guidelines to creating our own theme books?
Ooh, that's a really interesting one. This is something we've never included in games. It's quite advanced. It's almost like game design of game design. And I don't know that we plan to include these in the books just because we don't think most people would use it. Having said that, I would love to do a stream about how to build theme books and share some information about that.
Jay the Fae asks, at the start of the stream, you described travel would be a monster. Are there going to be multiple travel monsters?
Yes, there will be because we unlock the survival and bestiary stretch goal. So we're going to have a section specifically for quote unquote travel monsters, or rather travel challenges. And you will have a good chunk of those to throw into your games whenever you want.
Vash GR asks, and this is a scenario specific question here. Would the hold breath effect work here as a duration tag for the red marshal who's underwater for a while?
Would the whole what?
Would the hold breath effect work here as a duration tag for the red marshal who is underwater for a while?
Yeah, so the obvious consequence to give in a round where someone is underwater is actually drowning. We can see it here. I haven't used it, but one of the places, a companion who dived in will run out of air soon. That's a threat. I should have made that threat more often. And in fact, you can make multiple threats in each established phase, especially if you have a lot going on that the characters can't actually deal with everything. It's a great way for increasing the challenge level of a scene or a moment. And one of the things they could have done is make a threat with that worm, but also with the being underwater. And when the worm would have been dealt with, the red marshal would still take a status of drown 1, which had he taken it 6 times, he would have drowned.
Sebthos asks, is there any plans to add extra themes into Legend in the Mist?
Any plans to add extra?
Extra themes. So for those of you in the chat who have not played City of Mist before, there are so every character has 4 themes, but also there's the potential of getting extra themes such as like allies, a special ride, or like items that you pick up. So are there plans to add those in the Legend in the Mist and like the functionality for them?
Yeah, we're still deliberating about that. We like the functionality of the backpack as something that you could actually add to. So if you find things, even things like a magical sword that has 3 tags that describes its abilities, all of them could go into your backpack. And like extra themes, in City of Mist, you could only bring one extra theme into each scene. And like extra themes, the backpack would allow you to like highlight, okay, I want these parts of my sword to be important this time.
Mhm.
So we're leaning more towards using the backpack to resolve that than extra themes. But you will have a lot of extra themes content or backpack content or whatever we're going to call it, where you have magical items and things you can collect on the way and different features of each one of these things that you will be able to bring into the backpack theme. It's not finalized yet. We might circle
Mhm.
back to extra themes yet.
Cool. Humble Gallipot, and I think I can answer this question. How do you feel about
Yes.
players representing a lesser child of Twilight? So there will be a like a monstrosity origin theme book. So that's if you want to play like a giant or a dragon. But it's also no stretch to create a character who is like touched by the magic in that way, or is some sort of like magical creature. One of the great strengths of this system is the amount of freedom that you have in creating your characters. Um,
Yeah.
de-
I do want to
de-
add that specifically for children of Twilight, this is absolutely an option. And I've had already campaigns, playtest campaigns, where people played lesser children of Twilight, as you put it so well, and even played them without knowing they were playing them until the end of the campaign. So very, very interesting things.
Dennis Fear asks, will you add additional stretch goals now that we've hit the 500K stretch goal?
We're definitely going to add more stretch goals, but it won't be immediately. We really need to like sit down and I mean, we're blown away by how fast this has reached all of our stretch goals. So we're going to have a sit down and think about what are our next goals for this project. And we are really open to feedback from you backers, of course.
Maya W. and also DeLong John Silver ask, which settings or genres do you think will work best with this rule set? With DeLong John Silver adding, would fantasy slice of life fit within this rule set?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you saw the flexibility of this, I mean, we didn't get really crunchy until the end of and we almost kind of force it because we are more a narrative group. But you could really do a fantasy slice of life with this. You just narrate the actions that are not dramatic, and then if there is a dramatic moment, you go into roles. And the drama can be anything. It could be a drama that is happening in the life of someone in one day. It doesn't have to be the usual combat stuff. So yeah, and I think you can, I would say that this would give itself more easily to kind of hero to zero fantasy, but you could really do anything because the tag system is so flexible.
Knives the Clown asks, what is the timeline for release for this project looking so far?
So we took a little buffer this time. We want to make sure that we have enough time to work on it. We're looking at releasing the PDFs. Well, we're giving ourselves until March 2025 to release the PDFs. We really hope we can do it better, and we're planning on doing it, releasing it earlier. But we also want to make sure, learning from the past, that if we really need to fine tune or hone something, we don't already go over. So we're taking a cautious, little over a year, or actually a year from the end of the campaign time frame.
On that same note, Kynan Black Moon asks, will backers get early access, aka will they be able to play test stuff before it goes to print?
Yes, absolutely. We've done it with pretty much every other Kickstarter we've had. As soon as we have manuscripts or something that you can look at, we'll send it to you.
Let's see, bouncing around here. All right. Stefan asks, what are the big difference? What are the big differences in rules when comparing Legend in the Mist and Otherscape?
That's a great question. There's going to be a lot of rules around the way themes work. In Otherscape, it's kind of a fluid thing. You can pick themes from different types and mix them. Here, you can still do that, but it's going to have a different effect than on Otherscape. One of the elements that will probably be unique to Legend in the Mist is if you know Otherscape and you know the scale rules, the scale for people that, groups or things that are bigger. One of the things we're considering right now is um, to use something called might, which is affected by the themes that you have. So if you have adventure themes, you're going to be might 1, which is like a small group of people. You're fighting as well as a small group of people. And it represents how, for example, a fighter like Aragorn or someone like that can deal with a lot of people at the same time. And if you have a greatness theme, you have might 2, which represents how Gandalf can take on something like the Balrog. I'm just using like the most immediate examples that everyone will understand. So this is a whole new thing that isn't in Otherscape. And there's going to be a lot of content-specific stuff that won't be in Otherscape. For example, a lot of travel challenges, like we mentioned.
Jay the Fae asks about the mist, specifically in City of Mist. The mist is, the obscuring force that hides the magic in the world. Is there a mist equivalent in Legend in the Mist? And if so, what form does it take?
So the quick answer is no. This is just a totally different setting with its own feel. And it just really resonated nice to use the word mist in there because it gives you that feeling, Legend in the Mist, that feeling that we're looking for of a little bit of mystery. It has nothing to do with the specific force called the Mist in City of Mist. Having said that, I always thought of Legend in the Mist as a kind of game where you play a mythos, like you become a mythos over the course of the adventure, and then that story can maybe be your mythos in City of Mist. So there are places where these things connect and can connect, but it's not built in and it's not an inherent part of the setting. Having said that, there is also the aspect of the mystery that we're trying to create and the sense of wonder that is more like a meta feature of the setting. But these things are kind of similar to what was the purpose of the Mist in City of Mist, to create that sense of mystery and investigation.
So, Hatchlings Games asks, will third-party publishers be able to make content for the game, similar to the City of Mist garage for City of Mist?
Yes, it will definitely be on the garage, and that will be the main place, at least in the foreseeable future, where people could be able to create third-party content for it. But we would love your third-party content. We would love you to create things for Legend in the Mist, for any kind of fantasy setting, and also for Hearts of Ravensdale, if you find that you like it.
We have a few questions just kind of asking about like the magic system itself. You probably don't want to go into full detail on this, but is there sort of like a broad, like, this is kind of how magic works within the setting?
Yes, so the system in general will support a lot of different kinds of magic systems, and you'll be able to create your own magic systems, and we intend to have a guide for creating your own magic system. In Hearts of Ravensdale, the magic system is very, we're trying to create something that is more cultivation-based. It's about a thaumaturge being kind of cultivating a very strong spirit within them, or a very specific kind of spiritual qualities. And that is a very arduous, very difficult process. So thaumaturges, when you meet them, they can never ever be someone that just kind of stumbled upon thaumaturgy. It's always a conscious and a very, very difficult thing to achieve. And it involves looking for the secrets of the past thaumaturges, and kind of using those to cultivate, to refine in yourself essence, basically. And once that happens, you start really, in a way, becoming able to use that essence in different way and to grow different faculties of almost like a spiritual and astral body. So we're going to go into this in depth. It's connected very strongly, very, very strongly to the entire cosmology of this universe. But it's definitely trying to take things in a little bit of a different direction and tie more tightly the emotional side to magic.
I have a follow-up question. Part of it, like you mentioned in your answer, that players and presumably MCs, if that's the term that we're going to be using, or game masters in general, get to create their own magic systems. And I know that one of the best parts for me in City of Mist was that I didn't create the entire city at once. I just made the city as I needed it. So how much of the magic system will game masters need to know off the bat before delving into like a homebrew world?
That's a really great question. And this is something I'm thinking a lot about, whether we're going to have just one option, which is basically, here's what we know about the cosmology, reveal everything to the game master and let them work with it. Or maybe an option that will allow game masters to also have a little bit of a discovery process. Definitely for the players, it's supposed to be a form of discovery, because the person who's cultivating these abilities inside of them, they don't know where they're going with this. They often don't have a teacher. And even the teacher can't point them to it, because it's not about reading something. It's about sensing it inside of you. So it's almost like when you're learning to, I don't know, to play guitar, or when you're learning to do something with your body that is new. And they are not, players don't know instantly the abilities that they're going to develop as a result of that. So definitely there will be a discovery. But I mean, I like what you said. It would be really cool if we can create a discovery also for the GM.
So we got time for one more question, and this is from Toxin Frog. How would losing the theme that represents your character being a dragon or a giant work in universe? So, audience, for those of you who have not played City of Mist, and one of the big things with this game is that the theme cards that represent your character can get swapped out over your journey as you make new discoveries, as you lose bits of yourself, but also as you gain bits of yourself. So, in this scenario, one of your themes is being a dragon or a giant, and then that theme gets switched out. I mean, how would that kind of? What are some ways that could look like in game?
Yeah, this is a question we're getting a lot with race and with species and with innate abilities. Can I make permanent tags that don't swap out? Definitely, you can do that if you want. You can just say this person has these tags permanently, if that solves things better for you. Here's the official answer. So when you change out a theme that is something inherent in your character narratively doesn't stop being that thing and doesn't stop having those abilities. However, the fact that you're changing that theme means that you have kind of abandoned that side of you 3 times, right? Decay has 3 boxes. Every time you do it, you mark decay, and then you swap a theme. 3 times you have turned your back on being a dragon in a way that is, you're kind of leaving it behind. So what it would mean in a narrative is that kind of a character that is denying who they are, or is, for any reason, it could be that you are a dragon that ate armies and now you're trying not to be really hard. Or it could be that you're a dragon that has some kind of an issue with themselves and you're trying not to be really hard. Or maybe there is a narrative explanation and you were cursed to not be a dragon anymore. But I'm going to put that aside because that's not hard to explain. So if you have abandoned that draconic side of you in this example, what it would mean from a gameplay standpoint is that you're not going to be getting bonuses for using those abilities. You can tell your MC, I breathe fire at them, and your MC is like, great, roll with no power. Okay, I mean, because we don't want to see you do that. You abandoned that side of you, and you're not going to get a bonus for that. You can discuss then, well, maybe in that moment, I'm coming back to it. I'm abandoning my old theme and I'm getting this new theme back with that tag, and then I'm breathing fire with +1, or I'm burning it or whatever. That's all that all works. These are all options in your, toolbox, your narrative toolbox for what happens when your dragon denies their dragonhood. So I hope that answers the question.
Love that. There's one last comment before I think we can wrap things up from Rex Leith. I love the art of all your products. Just a quick shout out in the chat there.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you, thank you. And it's for it. This obviously goes out to Danielle, who's created a beautiful world here.
Love the
Great.
art on
So
this.
I think we can wrap up at this point. Kevin, why don't you take us out?
Thank you all for joining us for this live stream. We are hoping to do another live stream next week where we go more into the character details. But in the meantime, we did a quick demo. We've answered some of your questions. If you want to learn more about the game, definitely check out the Legend in the Mist Kickstarter page. There is a Tinderbox demo where you can actually see the character sheets and some of these scenarios, including the scenario we just played out during this live stream in the demo. Go check that out. As Amit said, we're also going to be working on more stretch goals for the project, but that's and special another quick credit toward Lone Mapper, who created the map that we used for the demo. We put his there, actually, I don't know their gender. We put their Patreon link in the chat. And I think that's all the shout outs I need to do. So unless I missed anything, Amit, thank you all once again for joining us. We really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And Daniel and Kai, thank you two so much for joining us as well. You guys were great players.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, backers, for all of the amazing support.
Have a good night, everybody, or good day, wherever you are.
Bye.